You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Football Show. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Delighted to have an all-star panel this week. We're delighted to be joined by Ryan McStay. Ryan, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Here, Scott, it's been a while. It's good to get back and also talk about the weekend's fixture. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been a busy weekend, but one game has probably highlighted the whole 42 teams that have kicked off over the week, and we're delighted to be joined by Charlie Richmond. Charlie, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure as always.
Thanks very much, Scott. Yeah, good to be on. Good to be on a weekend when we're not going to be talking about referees as we were the last time.
Yeah.
And common sense tells us that nobody's talking about Nick Walsh in the papers this morning, so that's a great attribute to him.
Yeah, absolutely. We're recording this on the Sunday night as we always do. There's only one place to start it, as of course at Parkhead on Saturday. Celtic 4, Rangers 0. Leila Bada with a double, Jota and David Turnbull rounding it off in full time. Ryan, my assessment of the game is Celtic outclassed Rangers. Celtic were just so much better, so much more intense, so much more of a threat for how bad Rangers were. Celtic were excellent. Is that fair to say? I just think it was so much Celtic just on top of Rangers and just Rangers so poor.
I definitely agree with you. The last couple of times we've played them at Parkhead, basically Celtic are in their faces for the first whistle. They don't let Rangers play. That's the way Ange's set up since he's come out of the club. I just felt, obviously going back in my notes here, just Celtic wanted it more, see 50-50s, throw-ins, by kicks. Every time Joe Hart gets the ball, he's done it. He just gets the ball down, whether it's 0 each or 3-0 or 4-0, he gets the ball and just wants to play. And Rangers looked as if they didn't want to get involved with it. I felt if Celtic got the first goal, it was just carrying momentum on. That's what happened. But the first goal, obviously, Jota's, there was maybe a wee bit of controversy at the start. People were saying, oh, it's a Rangers throw-in, but it was clear it came off a Rangers player. He's played the quick throw-in, good ball into the box, and Abada does what Abada does. What I find he's been for Celtic, 20 years of age. I think he's scored 61 appearances, 20 odd goals, 12 assists. He goes under the radar. Jota gets all the plaudits, but for me, he's been absolutely outstanding. So that set the tone for Celtic, and they just carried it on for then on, and Rangers didn't get to grips with one bit yet.
Charlie, Celtic have the difference between the February game and this game. Now, there's not a lot of differences because it went the same way, but Postecoglou's style's been more refined. They're more comfortable playing out the back. They've just got this intensity. As Ryan touched on a great point there that I was going to get your thoughts on. Rangers are moaning about the first and second goals, about the decision for the offside and the throw-in. Celtic get the ball in the net in 5 seconds. That's the difference between the two sides. Celtic are intense. Celtic we never stop. That is what his mantra is, and it's bang on. Yeah. Celtic just went for the jugular, and Rangers just opened up.
Seems to be a common. It seems if you look at Celtic, and it doesn't matter. Obviously, they're talking about the Rangers game. It doesn't matter who they play. Celtic for the first minute go all the time, and it's as if the motto is to score 2 and 3, and then just sit back, recover, and then go again, and then half time. Then at half time, come out, go again, sit back, and in the last 15 minutes, go again. And that seems to be Ange's philosophy in playing football. But when they go, they do go. Remember when you played under 13 football? Play to the whistle. Play to the whistle. And for that, and if it doesn't go and you don't get it, you get back in. Celtic just kept going, relentless, all over the park. And they don't spend a lot of time knocking it about right back, into right centre back, left centre back, out. They don't spend a lot of time in that. And I think that's when Brendan Rodgers was in. They were spending a lot of time going side to side to side. They don't do that now. It's just quick 2-3 passes and they're into the final third. then they may spend a bit of time going side to side. But when they see the opportunity, they go and they take it. And there's third men running. There's even fourth men running off the ball with Celtic as well. And when they come at you, everybody has to be on their toes. And Rangers, for the first minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, didn't know what had hit them. They were just static. The old cliche, men against boys.
But Charlie, that's the point I want to make. We knew that's how Celtic would set up. So Rangers, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst went there in February and set up the same way. I saw the midfield three Rangers had set up, and I think, what, like, the only way that midfield three works is if you contain Celtic in the first half. If Celtic score early, that plan's gone. You cannot retaliate from that, because it's a case of, right, you're 1-0 down, right, Celtic have got their early goal. You either go for them, try and get a goal before half time, run the risk of being opened up. Rangers didn't either. Rangers did not. Rangers, no. You're saying about playing to the whistle. Rangers would have took the full-time whistle then, because they just don't have an answer. And this isn't a new thing with this Rangers team. And
yeah, is it back to we don't have a plan B? Is it back to we don't have that plan B? They don't, when they go behind, they don't know how to do it.
But you go to PSV.
Too much emphasis on players. Can you know what I mean? Again, the talking point, Ryan Kent never rose to the occasion. Then for there, and blaming other people, and instead of saying to yourself, everybody needs to have a look at themselves.
I felt at times in the first half, Barisic played 5 or 6 great balls into the box, and not one Rangers player carrying themselves to go on the end it.
Yeah, Barisic was the only threat going forward, but at the back, a badder. But that's another thing as well. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to lead on to this recruitment point, and I don't want to say too much about it, because obviously we get the piece going out on Monday. I want to keep it for that. But this Rangers team, Celtic have rejigged the whole team in the space of 12 months. That's a completely new team, apart from the exception of Callum McGregor. That's 9 new players. Greg Taylor was there as well, but Greg Taylor stepped up a gear. Rangers have got the same team for the past 4 years mostly, and this isn't they've won a title, they've got to a Europa League final, but they're not. It's not a case of they've been so dominant we have to keep them. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that yesterday was predictable.
Aye.
And this is the point I'm making about recruitment. You brought in 7 new players. Not one of them finishes the game yesterday. So what does that say to a Rangers fan? Like, you're getting all that, you're bringing in all this money. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has worked wonders in bringing in money from European run. You need to do it in the league. The league is your bread and butter. European runs are fine, but if you're not winning that league, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, the man that brought Giovanni Van Bronckhorst to Ibrox, learned that lesson. Dick Advocaat was really successful in Europe. Mm-hmm. Didn't win the league, couldn't beat Celtic. Charlie, was he there? Was he there much longer?
No, he wasn't. No.
And that's the thing.
But he spent a lot of money. He spent a lot of money at the time to try and get that European thing that was probably never going to happen.
Yeah.
And also as well, one of the things that I don't know, having no played football, but been in big stadiums, a lot of Rangers players, I think, younger guys coming in, froze. I think the environment and the atmosphere, they froze. I don't think Tillsman kicked a ball in regards to that setup in there. Kolak, yeah, he could maybe have done better with a couple of chances. You're right, Barisic was the only one. Tavernier, not so much posted missing, but done no a great lot. Golston, everybody was calling for his head after the game, and really highlighting the level of football that he should be back playing with regards to there. So, is it a time now? Is what you're trying to say, Scott? Is it a time now that we look at the maturer players and say to yourself, right, let's move them out and start to bring in the quality of player that you really need to win the league with? And,
I really don't.
Sometimes that's not a flair player. Yeah. Sometimes that's a player that's just sleeves up, and let's get into this.
Charlie, how many years have we watched Rangers Celtic games? 25, 30 years? Well, you's probably more than me. I'm not being disrespectful, but My point is simple. Any Celtic Rangers game I've seen at Parkhead, Celtic have been in the front foot. Rangers have been the ones really kind of holding them in, trying to obviously win it in the break. Walter Smith was a genius at it. That isn't new. What's new to me is this Rangers team just don't have the hunger. Rangers went 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 down. And in the second half, do you think Walter Smith wouldn't have been in there? I don't know if Giovanni Van Bronckhorst characteristics as a manager. I don't know if he's got that Walter Smith kind of real anger that you'd probably see at half-time if it was a 3-0 loss, 3-0 half-time loss. Walter Smith would have been in there, you know as well as I do, Charlie. Walter Smith would have been in there full guns blazing.
Yeah.
Right? Rangers would have responded to that. That Rangers team had no energy in the second half. It wasn't a case of, right, let's try and get back into this. When the game was done, but you never know. 50 minutes, Rangers score. Do you know what I mean? It gives them a lift. It might not have it wouldn't have resulted in anything because Celtic would have just bumped up the pressure. But Rangers didn't believe that they could score. And that leads on to the next point. Celtic have obviously, the big difference obviously between Celtic and Rangers right now is Celtic are more consistent in the league. Celtic have built, I think, I'm just reading here, Celtic are unbeaten in 38 Premiership games. It's 5 points. It's 5 points. If Celtic, and I don't think this will happen, I think Celtic will just go from strength to strength. If Celtic go on a blip, can Rangers be trusted to bring it back? Can Rangers bring back that 5 point run? Rangers drop points. Rangers
look at the next game. The next game's up at Pittodrie. You know, I mean, that's a hard game. Do you
fancy Rangers more to go to Holland and get a result against Ajax, or go to Aberdeen and get a result at Pittodrie? Truthfully,
it's a tough one, isn't it?
Aye,
I think Ajax, because I think there's a mentality issue. I think it's a mentality issue. I think there's a fear of going to these real tough atmospheres where the crowd is on your back, giving you 90 minutes non-stop. You don't get that abroad. That's why I think it's not as bad. I don't think there's an issue abroad, like in European runs. I think that's
Yep.
I think it's like expecting a run, going to these places where it's 90 minutes of non-stop, crowd in your backs, this real eagerness to win. Rangers don't have it. Rangers do not have it. And
that gets back to obviously when we had COVID, when Rangers wanted to win the league, there was no fans in the stadium, so they were relaxed. I think Tavernier came out and said something in the programme one day that they felt relaxed playing in front of basically an empty stadium, and that's shocking for your club captain to come out and say that. But obviously Rangers want to win the league and the pressure's off, and I do agree with what you're saying, but going back to Celtic, the two have said, they were just relentless. Every player, Greg Taylor's kicked on massively for me. Left back, obviously went out and signed the wee boy for Argentina. But he's not enough because Greg Taylor's just took his game to another level, up and down, and he creates...
And that's what you want, though, isn't it? That's what you want. If you're bringing in a player for $3 million and you've got a player there, you want that player to just... That to be a shot to him.
I was one of the ones that were saying maybe we need a new left back, but now he's number one at left back. So the wee Argentinian boy's going to need to work hard to get in front of him, because when you look through, Kyo will come off after a minute, and every Celtic player's like, Celtic fans like, oh no, what's going to happen here? But then big Giakoumakis comes on, it's just like for like.
Yeah. I thought Carter Vickers really stepped up yesterday.
Yeah,
I thought he really stepped up.
Do you know who was brilliant? Matt O'Reilly. He's just no. That's what Rangers don't have. Rangers don't have that player who can just find a pass. See for the second goal, O'Reilly's got the eye. O'Reilly knows he's going to have plenty of space. He knows where to be. He knows where Jota's going to be. That's good management. That's good team cohesion. That's brilliant for Celtic
as well. So what a fine team's been on all for the League One in England. So,
but if you're trained like that, remember the old cliche: you train to what you play.
Yeah,
and they must train at a high intense. Postecoglou's training sessions, in my opinion, cannot be long in the time. They can't be like an hour and a half or whatever. But what they must be is high tempo, relentless training sessions, and then a break, and then go again, and then a break, and then that's it, call it a day. Because every player knows the trigger points. The trigger points happen and things go, and every player knows that. Right back to Joe Hart and goals. Get the ball down and move, and away we go with regards to that. The point as well with yourself, Scott, Van Bronckhorst, he turns round to the bench, and what's his first substitution? his first substitution, he brings on the boy Wright. Oh, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, what can he do?
Yeah, but that's the thing. If he's got this thing in his head when Brock Cossack Glenn Kamara's a number 10. Now I'm not an expert in tactics. I know Glenn Kamara's a really good midfielder, neat and tidy player. He's not a number 10. He's not that attacking threat you need in a game like that.
Not creative enough. No, that's
But
right.
that's the thing with this Rangers team. That's the difference. Celtic's first thought is in the kind of midfield, get the ball forward. Rangers are more concerned about getting the ball back, keeping possession, being neat and tidy. That's what needs to change. That's the difference. Celtic are just so much better at finding space, finding wee passes. Celtic kind of play, see for the, I think it's the first goal, I think it's the one Abada, yeah. Celtic kind of play in triangles. I think obviously it goes out for a throw-in off Kent, but I think you get Jota, O'Reilly, and I think it's Taylor. I think the three of them. They're just, the three of them are just so, they know each other's position. It's just right, one touch and get the ball through. Abada's got the ability to peel off Barisic, as he did all day again, and find the net. And it's that thing, it's just that quickness of knowing that's good team cohesion. Celtic have just got that in spades. And as Ryan, you point out about the squad depth, I mean, Celtic are 3-0 up and bring on Turnbull, Moy, Maeda. Do you know what I mean? And it's that Celtic, it's been so much, this has all been done in a year. Celtic has been...
It's not a secret, but we spoke about it earlier. Just the way Celtic plays relentless. Joe Hart gets the ball, throw-in goes out. You get it, you do it early, and then everybody knocks a plan in. And then come that, it was a wee bit later yesterday because of the injuries before it, but that 60-minute mark, there's three or four subs on just to start all over again. And again, it's just relentless again for the next half an hour. They're non-stop. So.
But these substitutions, Ryan's, are just like for like players who do the same job. It's a like for like player that knows the trigger points, when to go and what to do and who they're marking at set pieces against and set pieces for, etc., etc. And that's well drilled. They're so well drilled. They're actually good to watch.
They're very good to watch.
The last time I was on, Scott, I sat and had a rant about Celtic, Neil Lennon. I think Rangers are starting to get to that point now where they need to start. For me, speak to pals, I mean, our Rangers fans, I would get rid of Kent and Morelos a year ago and reinvested it back into the squad, because Kent is your typical winger. He plays one good game in 5 and then people are saying he's getting touted for move to Leeds and then like that. But see, in my opinion, Jota's miles ahead of him. Even Abada is miles ahead.
Yeah, it's just that consistency. Like you know what you're getting. Kent just switches hot and cold, and I get like forward players do that. I understand that, but it just looked as if he was just.
For a winger who's supposed to be the best player for Rangers in Scotland, should be dominating most weeks, especially at Ibrox. But he just flats down out of games for me. And for me, if I was getting the 10 million quota, I would have took it. Same with Morelos as well. Obviously, well documented issues the last 3 or 4 months, and it's kind of cost Rangers because they've only got really one recognised striker. He's come in, the big boy, and basically at the start a bit of dogs at this, but he's banged the goals in. You know what I mean? So you can't fault the big man. But again, if you take him out, you're putting basically an unfit Morelos back into the team. So there's a lot of issues, and if I was a Rangers fan, I would have been unhappy on Thursday when the window shut, especially all the money coming in through Bassey and a few other players, the Champions League money, obviously the Champions League ticket money, £150 getting took off fans. So that's always got to take into account. Even a couple of loan players, just try and beef the squad up a wee bit in certain positions, but to bring nobody in, it was criminal.
And it's no just that. Like it's the reason. Like they're not in. He's come out and said he's happy with the squad. And Charlie, you know me, I'm a fan of it. I watch every league I can watch. There's gems in the transfer market you can pick up for low prices. Celtic have done it. Matt O'Reilly was only 1.6 million. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Celtic have done it. Why, as Ryan just pointed out, and I've been quite quiet about the board in recent years because of, obviously, I know the situation they've had to deal with when they went in. I know, obviously, what's happened with what they've inherited and what they've had to rebuild and all that. But you can't tell me that there wasn't. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst wasn't getting phone calls constantly on Thursday from agents offering players, and he wasn't thinking, I fancy him. He would improve my squad. That, to me, I'm not buying this, that he's happy with the squad. I really am not. And the reason I'm not buying it is because he's playing Malik Tillman as a right winger on Saturday. Malik Tillman is not, I don't think he will ever have played right wing in his life.
Glenn Kamara, that showed.
And it was
that
evident.
showed.
Glenn Kamara is a number 10. He's got this in his head that he's a number 10. He's nowhere near a number 10.
No.
I'm a huge, huge admirer of Stephen Davis and Alan McGregor. Two Rangers legends, in my opinion. But why was Alan McGregor...
You need two sitting midfielders. Do you need Davis and Lundstrom sitting?
And it's not just that. You're asking a 38-year-old Stephen Davis, and no disrespect to him and his age and things like that, but you're asking him to go to sit with three players who are just constantly at him going forward. He doesn't have the legs to do that. And that's apparent. Alan McGregor, people are saying now because McLaughlin did a bad game. McLaughlin did have a really bad game. I'm not disagreeing with that, but Alan McGregor's going off in the Scottish Cup final to an applause. That to me is a farewell. Why? What now has been decided? Alan McGregor should be staying and John McLaughlin's the number one. Why are the Rangers board kicking a problem into the long grass? Yes, you might sign a goalkeeper, spend $2 million on a goalkeeper. It might not work. We saw that with Celtic and Barkas, but do it. Do something. If John McLaughlin was a Rangers number one, and the real point with me with John McLaughlin is I've watched Rangers a lot this season. John McLaughlin is not comfortable with the ball at his feet, and that is the way Giovanni Van Bronckhorst wants to play, because it's only been really apparent this season. Why is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst not been allowed to identify a goalkeeper that he knows? He must have contacts in the Dutch market. He must have contacts everywhere where he's been in football. Why is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst not been allowed to identify a goalkeeper as opposed to getting John McLaughlin, who's probably never played that way in his life, to change his game to do that? That is my issue with recruitment now.
Recruitment is quite difficult, but you see what the manager probably wants, and what probably all clubs, what the manager wants and what the board want to spend is probably miles apart. And for there, and both sides of the old firm have had that in the last couple of years, or maybe longer back. And you always get, when one side of the old firm are doing well, there's a problem at the other side of the old firm. Yeah. And that can he swing his weight backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. So when your team's not playing that well, you start to pick up on the wee cracks, and the wee cracks then become bigger and bigger and bigger. You're right, Scott. I think Giovanni Bronckhorst is a European manager and a European style of play, and he will have contacts. And I would like to think that the scouting team are out there identifying players on the next window. The January window is no ideal, but you're lining them up for next year. And that side, I think the board will be sitting there and trying to recover a wee bit of money to steady the ship with the loans, etc., etc. Because if you take it back to a few years with Celtic, and they Rangers were loading the leaves, why they no spending big money, why they no spending big money to try and compete in the Champions League, that when they were going in, and they were saying, well, realistically, to compete in the Champions League, we would probably, a centre half for Celtic at that time was what they were calling out for. They're not going to spend 15 to 20 million in a centre half to compete with that side of things. What the Rangers need to spend, I think Rangers could probably solve the problems or solve the issues with maybe 10 to 15 million. And that would maybe get you the players to try and take that. And sometimes playing players out of position going into an old firm game is the wrong thing to do, because when it doesn't work, players start to hide in it. And the body language at half time, when you watch the half time whistle, the body language of the Rangers players was all slow, and there was nobody sprinting off. There was nobody sprinting. Craig Brown said that to me once. He says, every time the half-time whistle, get the players running off the park. Doesn't matter the score, doesn't matter, get them running off the park. And it creates a wee bit, not to appease the fans, but can he steady them a wee bit for that side. So maybe what Giovanni Bronckhorst wants, the board will say, well, we can't give you all this, we can give you this, because they'll need to look at the finances behind the the situation, but they'll not want to go down the Swanee again or whatever you want to cry it. And Celtic were probably in that situation as well, when why we not putting more money into the squad, etc., because Brendan Rodgers wanted to sign a lot of players, and he was disappointed sometimes with the transfer activities at the club at the time. But sometimes when you're on your knees, and I think that's what showed with Ange Postecoglou, when you're on your knees, right, if I'm coming as the manager, you need to trust me. You need to trust me. And he's went to a market that he knows well, and he's brought these players in, and he's obviously got somebody working away that you're right, you've identified O'Reilly, etc., etc. And Celtic's jigsaw is coming together well, and the small points are the issues at Rangers are now getting identified, blown up, when there is problems there, but they're maybe not as big as what you think.
But that's an interesting point that you brought up there about the kind of the player trading model. Obviously, Celtic have spent the guts of 40 million since Postecoglou came in, but Celtic's thinking will be, if we spend 40 million and we improve these players, we'll be doubling more money. How much will Celtic make for Jota? How much will Celtic make for Kyogo, O'Reilly?
But Jota's been the biggest signing, hasn't he, Scott?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, I think, yeah. But
and there was a lot about James Jota. What was it, 8 million or something?
I think it was like 6.5. But the Celtic,
6.5 with the add-ons.
That's an investment. That's something.
Yes.
If you improve a player like that, he's going to double your money. You could easily. Rangers have done it. Rangers are behind in that trade model. They're only this year beginning to pick that up with like Sabasi and Patterson. Celtic have been brilliant for that over the years, but Celtic are investing in. They obviously know they put a lot of trust into Postecoglou, and so far it's really paying off. But they know if they invest money, if they back their manager, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is not getting in there, as not in my opinion anyway. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst wasn't getting in there in November going, I really want to keep Connor Goldson for 4 years. I really want to get another season out of Alan McGregor.
Yeah.
New manager needs to bring in his own players. He can't stick with Steven Gerrard's players. Who?
And you possibly don't want continual loan deals.
Yeah.
For there. Jota's an ideal. Jota's textbook. You bring him in and loan, you see what he's like. Does he like the Scottish game? Does he like the Scottish environment of living in? The boy's relished. And now you've went out and burst your gut to get him. And we spoke about Taylor. Taylor has come on leaps and bounds. Taylor's comes on leaps and bounds because he's got a 6.5 million player in front of him, helping him and bringing him on and looking as good with regards to that setup. And then Abada, he's coming on leaps and bounds because he's getting into the position and the balls are coming in. Mm-hmm. See, if I'm a striker and I get into the positions, the balls are coming in, I'm taking them and I'm looking good and I'm scoring goals. One thing I will say is, what you're talking about, Scott, is I think it'll put the emphasis on the Old Firm games at Ibrox.
Yeah.
Because I think without the crystal ball, you're almost going to say, so the next one will be January time, round about that. Yeah. So that'll be Ibrox. The next one will be, after that will be March time. So that March time, February, March time, without sounding, that game will probably take the same pattern, if that's the right thing to say. So now for there, because you can't see it at this present moment in time, and confidence is everything. You can't see Celtic dropping points. And even away from home and up at Dingwall or up at Aberdeen, that's a difficult place to go. Going to Tynecastle and going to Easter Road and stuff like that, you can't see them at this particular moment in time. And they're both in the Champions League and they're both playing. So there's no differences between the teams there as well. You know, they're in Europe, they're playing in first, etc. A lot more games on a Saturday afternoon as well, and which maybe take it for that. So I think I'll put emphasis more on the Old Firm games at Ibrox. And I think the top two will move further away from third, fourth. I think there'll be a gap between the top two and there'll be a massive gap between everybody else, I think.
I think it's just the fact as well. I don't see, I know we've got this anomaly, the World Cup, where you don't know how teams will come back from it and all that, but it's not just the fact I don't see Celtic dropping points. I don't think Rangers can go on a run. If Celtic drop points, I think Rangers just, that was a big difference last season. Celtic were just far more consistent. Celtic had their bad wee start and then just went, as you say, relentless. I think they only dropped 2 points in like 23 games or something. That shows that just this remarkable run that Celtic can go on. Rangers can't be trusted to do that. And that's the big difference. But we did have 5 other games. I know we get this game dominates every week it's on, but we did have 5 other games to talk about. Hibs won, Kilmarnock now. Hibs were without Lee Johnson, their manager, but still managed to get the 3 points. Ryan, Hibs obviously took the lead after 12 minutes with Joe Newell after Ash Taylor's red card. Reports of the game to me suggest that Hibs were under the cosh slightly for most of the game and kind of probably were really happy to hold on for a 1-0 win.
I listened to Dale McInnes's interview after the game. He says that the better team lost, and the highlights I seen that was maybe justified. Obviously the goal, it's a sending off Ash Taylor on Boyle, and then obviously for the resulting free kick, it comes off the ball. Kelly haven't reacted, and it's obviously a rebound shot, and obviously they failed on for the one after that. But I've seen a few Hibs games, they huff and puff, they don't really. You're expecting Lee Johnson to come in and put his own stamp in the team, but you've said that for the last maybe 2 or 3 managers that's come in. I don't know what the emphasis they want there. So I don't know if you're expecting Hibs there. They're a big club, you know what I mean? They're well supported. They've probably got a big budget, and they just seem to don't want to kick on that big. So seeing the highlights yesterday, I was maybe going to agree with Dale, saying he was a wee bit unlucky, maybe not to take a point at least anyway.
Charlie, Kilmarnock had 24 shots in the 80 minutes. They were with 10 men and 8 were on target. I mean, that's really, really unlucky for a Hibs perspective that they wasted a lot of opportunities. But Kilmarnock were very, very valiant, and probably and by the sounds of it and by the looks of it in the highlights, probably would be gutted not to get a point.
Yeah, that seems to be the story coming out of Easter Road with regards to that. As you say, there's no great lot of possession between them, 57 with Hibs and 43 with Kilmarnock. Hibs, the bringing back of Mr. Boyle seems to be lifted them a wee bit. But to go early, to go 1-up early against 10 men, you would expect Hibs to go on and maybe win the game 2 or 3. But credit to Kilmarnock to set up and then have a go and try, and you might as well get beat 4-0 or try and draw the game 1-1 or try and even win it 2-1. So I think that's what McInnes has done. He's set up to try and get something, i.e. if we're going to get bait, we're going to get bait. But you look at it from that point. It probably highlights that Kilmarnock don't have a real out-and-out goal scorer. That's maybe what it highlights for them. I'm taking it for that. It's a red card. Yeah. He panics a wee bit and as if, I'm caught here, and then Womf takes him down outside the penalty area, denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity.
Ryan, you're going to come on?
No, just obviously Kelly had a bad start. Obviously Dale will be a bit disappointed not to get in for the game, especially playing well with 10 men for over 80 minutes. So they just need to regroup again, get their heads down in training. I think they've got a massive game at home with St Johnstone next week, so it's just all about regrouping, try to get 3 points next week. I think Kelly and St Johnstone will be round about each other on the table, so they need to win their home games against them.
We'll move into Motherwell now, Dundee United now. Obviously, Charlie, the news during the week that Jack Ross' position kind of really became untenable, and he's obviously been dismissed as Dundee United manager. Were you surprised? And secondly, have you been surprised with the fact that they've went unbeaten on the next 2 games?
No. It's very difficult to survive a heavy defeat. Sometimes your games before it take into the factor as well. But what staggered me, or what made me sit up, was the statement from Dundee United. That they obviously took time to gather thoughts before they made a decision on Jack Ross. That tells me that they've went into the players and asked, what about this? What about that? Because the big thing for the Celtic game was why was 2 experienced players on the bench, and then the midweek, they 2 experienced players come in and they won the game. Mm-hmm. And then the 2 experienced players are there again, and apparently It could have went either way. Obviously, Motherwell missed the penalty, but it could have went either way. Dundee United could have probably done it. So what they need to do is just steady the ship. But it was a kind of weird statement that came out of Dundee United with regards to the sacking of Jack Ross, of that we took time to rethink, and then all of a sudden the next thing it's basically saying, I get the impression that the players weren't happy. There was a wee bit of unrest in the dressing room, and Jack Ross is went. And then it's the old cliche, isn't it? Kind of, there's no a new manager in, but it's the new manager bounced. Oh, I'm playing for my place here now. And it's always, I don't know what, interesting to get your play as you playing side of things is, if the manager gets sacked, should his whole team just go, or it's always, oh well, we'll just leave the assistant the new to steady the ship? But surely the assistant must be part of the package that the team and that's not doing too well anyway in the first place.
I do agree in certain circumstances, Charlie, but with that one, obviously Liam Fox was already there at the club, so that's maybe a different scenario. But I do agree with you. You see that more often nowadays, where the manager's got the sack and the assistant takes over. It's a strange one to me, but in terms of taking their time, I just think Jacko was only 7 games into a 2-year deal, so it's maybe come down to a wee bit of, do we sack him now because we're going to have to give him a big payoff here, or do we give him maybe another couple of games to try and turn it round? But as you say, a 9-0 victory, a 9-0 drubbing at home, I don't think you can see that through. I think Jack will be told his hands up with that as well.
Do you think, obviously, you know him, Ryan, like you'll know of him and obviously that, but do you think Jack Ross's thing is, like, he's obviously done a brilliant job at St Mirren, but that's the kind of debate I had last week. Like, he's went to Hibs, he's went to Sunderland, he's went to Dundee United, kind of 3 clubs with big fan bases and kind of high pressure. Do you think that's been the issue with Jack Ross? Or, like, because that's just, to me, like, you go to St Mirren, there's not a lot of demands. Like, his kind of playing career was obviously Dundee and Hamilton and things like that. He never really had that kind of big club kind of situation he was in. Do you think that's maybe been his issue the past few jobs he's been in?
I'm not so sure. I think at Sunderland he was a wee bit unlucky. I think he'd done all right at Sunderland, but they're a massive, massive club. The expectation if it was to get them back up the leagues, but I felt he was unlucky. He was obviously the supporters down there were slaughtering for being too defensive. Maybe when they were 1-0 up at home, he was maybe taking off a striker and trying to see it out and then losing a last minute goal or whatever and drawing manage and dropping points. That cost him his job down there, and he's come back up road at Hibs. I felt as if he was doing an alright job there. Again, I think he had a few games in hand where if he won them, he was going to push right up to the league, maybe 4th or 5th again. But Hibs have got high expectations and all they go through managers like nothing. So again, I felt as if Dundee United was maybe the right job for him because Tam Courts had done a good job, got him into Europe. Maybe he's going to kick on with it as well, but it just shows you the highs and lows being a manager. AZ Alkmaar at home, they get a 1-0 victory. The full club's buzzing, and then 3 or 4 games later, you've conceded 23 goals and it's cost you your job. So that's just the fickleness of being a manager. You know what I mean? 1 minute you're the Messiah, next minute you're picking up your P45. It's just it's obviously Jack was one of my mates. I travelled with Falkirk, you know, so you never want to see anybody lose their job, but I think he would be the first to admit he would be lucky to keep your job after getting beat 9-0, especially at home.
Charlie, in the other way, obviously looking at this game, Motherwell, I think Kevin Van Veen did everything in a game but score. He missed a penalty, obviously, but there's been a difference in Motherwell since Stevie Hamill came in. There's been more of a kind of ability, I think, to kind of play forward football. I think the only thing missing yesterday was a goal.
Exactly. 66% possession, 21 shots, and 5 of them on target. For there. And Stevie Hamill's been running the club, and we've just spoke about that. He's run the club, he knows what he wants to play. And when you see your team playing in an exciting, acceptable manner, you can get away with the results. They'll be saying to yourself, nothing each with Dundee United. Can we just, as long as it doesn't carry on. And Van Veen's been doing all right. He's been taking chances, but as I say, he could do everything else but score yesterday. So I think Stevie Hamill has got Motherwell back together. I think he's got them back together as a group. There seems to be a wee bit of harmony in the dressing room. and they're all going to pull in the right direction for him. And being sometimes as well that he's came through the ranks at Motherwell, Stevie. He knows what it's like. He knows, he'll probably know the budget. He'll obviously know the chairman very well is going through for that side of things. So that's the relationship that I think Motherwell will pick up and go on a run and do things like that. Come back to Jack Ross. Jack's a very confident guy, and he's very confident in his own ability, and he seems to come across as a plausible footballing guy who knows a lot. And the last times he's lost jobs, I think it's because I'm maybe off the park. Is it a case of, and is it my way or the highway type of thing? This is the way I'm going to play, guys. This is what I believe in, and if you don't like it, and is maybe that the reason why he left the two experienced players on the bench? I don't know.
It's an interesting one, and obviously we'll see what happens with the Dundee United kind of manager hunt, if they go for a kind of experienced guy, or maybe is Liam Fox a candidate, I don't know. But we'll move into Livingston 1, Hearts 0. Montano with the goal. Ryan, two sides that were desperate for a pick-up after getting out of the League Cup during the week. Livingston were excellent, absolutely deserving of the victory. Tremendous performance and a much-needed 3 points, and a big performance was given on the day.
Yeah, obviously the disappointment of getting beat off Dundee United, and during the week thereafter, there obviously getting beat 9-0 would have been disappointing, but they've bounced back against Hearts. I know they've got a few injuries. Hal kept Boyce's out. They made a few changes, obviously with Europe coming up during the week, resting Shanklin, players like that. So, but Livingston were tremendous. Martindale, he just goes under the radar. He just keeps plucking players from nowhere. You've never heard of them. They just come in. The jail is a team. They work hard. You've got Nicky Devlin there, who's a captain. I played with Nicky.
Yeah.
Just up and down the right-hand side. Obviously, the boy Montana's come in and scored. I think he got player of the month last for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but obviously the big boy Newbley up front. I think he was in loan to Arbroath last year. He's come back and absolutely tremendous. So it's always a hard place to go. You know like yourself, Scott, Celtic find it hard to go there because of the surface. So teams going there will find it hard, and Martindale kind of just, he knows how to set up. But it's two banks of four with two up top, and then he just plays. I can't remember the wee boy in the middle of the park. He just kind of rats about into people's faces, and he's very tidy on the ball as well. Again, you've never heard them, but they just come in and they just kick on, and they always seem to do well. Going back to budgets, Hibs, your Dundee United, they'll have massive budgets compared to Livingston, so you've got to take your hat off to the boy Martindale, who keeps churning out results season in, season in.
Charlie, Hearts have obviously got a squad capable of kind of doing well in Europe. I think they've got easily the third best squad in the country, but when you're ravaged by injuries, it's really difficult to get that, as we talked about earlier, cohesion. It's really difficult to go to places like Livingston where it's going to be a dogfight and really kind of push for a result. And I think that's what happened. I just think Livingston were far better on the day, and Hearts are just struggling now because of how many players are without.
Yeah, changes. And then sometimes strength and depth with regards to that side of things. So he's Halliday. I think Halliday's more or less played every position for Hearts except for centre forward. So he's playing in a sitting two. With regards to there, you're moving Nielsen and Kingsley into centre halves for that. Mackay, and then Humphreys up front. Go and try and do something for us today. Against, I think as well. I think Livingston will overachieve this season again. I think they're well disciplined. No discipline as in yellow cards and red cards. Sometimes they pick up, but they're well drilled. They know what they're doing. Everybody knows their job, and even when they go down to 10 men, and everybody still knows what they're going to do. And it's what you said as well, Ryan. The recruitment there, they're picking these players who are there and they're working and running their heart off. And Holt and Pittman in the middle of the park. Is it the wee boy Amondiga, whatever? He brought him in. He looks as if he could run all day. You know what I mean? And a good end product at the end of it. And you're right, Newbley, he'll not be far away for one of the third or fourth top goal scorers this season, with the chances that he's going to create, because apparently Livingston chance after chance after chance, and they only took one from up-team chances.
Gordon's kept Hearts in the game with a few good saves
as well. Yeah.
Definitely. We'll move into the next game. Ross County 1, Aberdeen 1. 2 late goals, 2 teams that I think cancelled each other out. Ryan, probably a fair result in the end because I don't think there was a lot of, I don't think this was a quality game of football.
Yeah, just be going to be seeing the highlights. I probably agree with that. But if I was Jim Goodwin going up there and taking the lead late on and then you're conceding the 96th minute, that'd been throwing the spin for Aberdeen going into the game at Pittodrie against Rangers next week. You'd be gutted, absolutely gutted. But Ross County would be delighted to get away with that with a point, obviously conceding late on. So, but it's always a hard place to go. I used to hate going up there and playing, but with the travelling taken into account and all things like that. So, I didn't look like a cracker, to be fair.
Charlie, Aberdeen obviously last week we spoke about how dominant they were after Livingston lost their man. It wasn't the same Aberdeen this week.
Not at all. Not at all. And that just shows you sometimes, isn't it? When you think you get a run, scored 5, Livingston against obviously down to 10 men, and you go to Ross County, who you probably say is their nearest team, and you're thinking the momentum, because Aberdeen were on a wee run, and for that, and you're saying to yourself, right, okay, Ross County have done well in the last couple of games against the Old Firm, etc., etc., and you're thinking, right, we're going to maybe win this game 2-3-0. But no, I was listening to Willie Miller's commentary on the way back down for the game I was at, and he said it was absolute. The game never came alive until the last 5 minutes, but he couldn't understand where the 5 minutes of injury time came from. But when he was doing it, he says, "Thank God we had the 5 minutes of injury time, because that's when everything just lathing up." And the Aberdeen goal was an absolute wonder strike.
Yeah, it was a really good goal
for there. But yeah, Aberdeen will be thinking that as points dropped, and Ross County will be thinking to yourself, points dropped as well, Ken, because we're competing last midweek. They competed with Celtic for quite a long period of time and then just ran out the steam and lost a couple of goals, even though it was 4-1. But Ross County, they would have kind of fancied their chances as well of trying to get something off it. So sometimes as well, when 2 teams are so evenly matched, everything just cancels everybody out and it becomes a dull, dread, boring game. And I would say points drop for both of the teams.
I think Ross County, they've only won 1-7, so a big point for them. Maybe to kick on, give them a wee bit of momentum, and obviously for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. But the final game of the weekend in the Premiership was St Johnstone 3, St Mirren 0. I've got to be honest, Charlie, I did not see this result coming. St Mirren won the last 3. Looked like they'd kind of stepped up a gear, like kind of Main was coming into form. St Johnstone's, they've found something. Nicky Clark obviously scored the first goal, came in for the United during the week.
That's a good bit of business.
Really good.
I like wee Nicky Clark. Yeah. I liked him.
Graham Carey as well.
Yeah, they come on. You wouldn't have been surprised if that result had went the other way.
I know.
St Mirren winning 3-0. Yeah. But hats off. Well done to Mr. Davison, getting them all, Callum, getting them all drilled, getting them that wee bit of time. Board have backed him with bringing in a couple of players, okay, albeit in loan type of thing, but everything just gelled for them. It's one of the days where you think to yourself, right, absolutely fine. And for there, 45% possession, 9 shots, 4 in target and a penalty. Bingo, job done. Let's get together, let's regroup. St Mirren, wee bit downhearted. Probably think they could have went up there, got a result. But the old cliche as well, isn't it? Don't get too high when you win. Don't get too low when you get beat.
Ryan, did you see that result coming on Saturday when you were putting a coup in
it? No, obviously that was St Johnstone's first win in 3, and St Mirren have obviously won the last 3. But see, when you look at St Johnstone's team, obviously that's a big signing, getting Nicky Clark a 3-year deal. I think that's maybe what they're missing. He's not just a goal scorer, but he can link up and bring others into play. And then you've got the boy Dre Wright, used to be at Hibs.
Yeah.
So they've signed the boy on loan for Aberdeen, McLaren, and then obviously the young boy Montgomery, who set up the second goal, getting up and down the left-hand side and playing it back for Dre Wright and a good finish. So I think St Johnstone with that team will kick on. I think obviously a bad 12 months after obviously winning the double. So I think looking at that team, I think they'll kick on again. St Mirren, again, they're maybe a team you look at, they always maybe scrape a 1-0 victory, but they've kind of kicked on the last couple of games and done well. So I was a surprise, but looking at the team St Johnstone's got, I'm going to tap them to try and creep up the league a wee bit.
A busy weekend in the Premiership. Obviously, we'll move the other three leagues. We'll talk about in the SPFL Championship. I'll just run through the results. Arbroath 0, Partick Thistle 2, Cove 2, Hamilton 2, Dundee 3, Queen's Park 0, Morton 1, Ayr 2, Wraith 0, Inverness 2. I am going to start by talking about Ayr United again. Another magnificent result as they go top of the league again. It's nicely poised next week against Partick Thistle. Ryan, your old club Ayr, how happy are you being that they've started so well?
Definitely. I was only down there for a year, but it's a good club and the fan base expect a lot. Even though when I was down there were part-time, they still expected to be up at the top end of the table all the time. And obviously my time down there wasn't good, so I put my hands up to that. But it's a good club and I'm delighted. Obviously, Lee Bullens went in there. He came to Falkirk when I left, so
yeah,
I think he's come in there and I think he's got a wee bit of batting because again he's signing players from down south. You know what I mean? And they're coming up. The big boy up top, he looks as if I've only seen him 2 games, but he looks a handful. His turn and finish last week was tremendous. So then I think did he score yesterday again?
Yes, he did. Yeah,
he scored just so he's obviously banging the goals in and. He's poised up for a good game next week against one of my other teams.
Who are you supporting, just out of curiosity?
Listen, more leagues, man. I've probably got about 10 clubs I could talk about.
Charlie, have you been impressed with it and how they've done over the summer and obviously the start 6 games unbeaten, new setup. I know there's a lot of kind of excitement going on down there about what they're planning to do. It just looks like a feel good factor around about the club, which has been missing for a good few years.
There really is, yeah. There really is. With regards to the old owner, Lachlan.
Yeah,
Lachlan was probably came to the end of his time or whatever. And I know a couple of guys on the board very well. I know there's a lot of buzz. There's plans in place to really develop the football ground, and also as well with, as Ryan has said, Lee Bullen. He's a very clever manager. He's a very clever, thoughtful. I was lucky enough to go and watch in a pre-season friendly up at Inverclyde and really get in close and listened and etc. etc. So yeah, everybody's supporting everybody down there. So there is a real good togetherness. And as long as the results are happening on the park, the punters are happy and they're starting to get behind the club and invest and put a wee bit of money into the function suite, etc. It's there as well. So and long may it continue for there.
Ryan, any other results in the Championship catch your eye over the weekend?
Inverness, obviously that was a big one and all coming back. They get beat during the week that as well. So that was a good victory for them. But it's going to be a tight league, I think. Obviously looking at the table there, they've won 4, drew 2 and still unbeaten. Partick, that's a big game next week. Dundee have picked up. That was a good victory as well because they were going through, they were drawing, they were winning and things like that. So I think they'll kick on now. Queen's Park under Coyley, I wouldn't say they've surprised anybody because obviously the budget everybody knows they've got. They'll be up there expected to try and go for that league as well. So it's going to be a good league. Obviously, Dick up at Arbroath. It's kind of obviously went full circle when they were flying.
No.
Then they've kind of obviously.
Yeah, there was an interesting movement up there.
A few players have left. I know.
Jason, the left backs went to Celtic Hearts.
Celtic Hearts.
James Cragen goes as well, I think.
He went
low
to so I don't know what's happened up there, but knowing Dick, he'll get them and get them up that league.
Yeah, definitely. League 1, Airdrie 0, FC Edinburgh 6, Clyde 2, Alloa 4, Kelty 2, Falkirk 0, Peterhead 0, Montrose 2, and Queen of the South 0, Dunfermline 2. Charlie, there's only one place to start. Airdrie 0, Edinburgh 6. Two good sides. Airdrie have started really well. I've been really impressed with the way they've started. Obviously, a young management team, but I never saw that coming. I never saw Edinburgh scoring 6.
Airdrie went down to 10 men early there. Airdrie went down to 10 men early. And it just shows you the difference. There was the same thing happened with Kilmarnock at Hibs, so we steadied the ship a wee bit. But at Airdrie, the whole thing's just collapsed. Or credit to FC Edinburgh, as they're now known as, they just went on and steamboat it. But it was only 1-0 at half time, I do believe. So the second half, they've really, I don't know, a wind factor or something like that, but they really went to town, and that is a statement of a result, particularly with both of them so high in the league.
Ryan, what about your old club, Falkirk? Obviously, Celtic getting their first win against them on Saturday. What's your kind of thoughts on the John McGlynn getting in there?
I think it's a fantastic appointment. Again, Falkirk's obviously everybody knows I'm a Celtic fan, but Falkirk's, that's one of my clubs. That's my second club. It's the club I came through. So I still got to see the games and take a lot of games in. And the club has been free fall for the last 4 or 5 years, talking of going part time. So it's a massive club with a massive fan base who expect to be up at least challenging the Championship. So to be down in League One, I think this is the 4th season. It's just unacceptable. And I think John McGlynn's the ideal manager to try and get the club back on track, because he's been about for years. He knows how to do. He knows how to build a squad for these types of leagues. So, but again, they won last week, and you're saying, oh, they're going to go on maybe a winning run, and then they get beat on Saturday against a Celtic team who, under Potsy, hasn't started that well. So again, you're having one good result and then you're getting beat again and you're drawing. A team like Falkirk in that league should be winning 3, 4, 5 games in a row and trying to get up that league. Basically what Dunfermline are doing under James McPake. They've just ticked on, and they're going to places like Queen of the South. I think Willie's having a wee bit of a hard time down there, but hopefully he comes out that as well. But jam up at Dunfermline, that's a club in that league with high expectations, should be building a squad to get up the league. So going back to Falkirk, I think it will work out, but you've got to give him time. You just can't keep sacking managers because you're not getting the results. You've got to give him a couple of years to time put the foundations into the club, because Falkirk should be up, in my opinion, challenging to go up into the Premier League. Yeah,
that's another club as well that I've been really impressed with so far. Montrose, 2-0 win over Peterhead. Peterhead are really struggling, I think. There's a lot of kind of issues there, but Montrose have started really well. I think Stuart Petrie, Charlie, has been one of the most underrated managers in SPFL over the past few years.
Yeah, very, very consistent in the last couple of seasons. Finished high up the league and stuff like that. And I always believe that a manager has a club. And I think that's where Stuart's Montrose. Just stay there, happy. He's got his squad together. He knows the area. He's obviously got contacts to try and bring players up in and do well. And supporters will come out and support a winning team. And if they're sitting up in the playoffs and okay, they might not go up the league, but they're in the playoffs, they've got an ideal. That's probably a realistic place for Montrose to be as top of League One, trying to get playoffs into the Championship for that. Absolutely. And everybody's happy.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move into League Two. Annan 2, 4-1. East Fife 0, Dumbarton 1. Elgin 2, Bonnyrigg Rose 0. Stenhousemuir 3, Stranraer 1. And Stirling 1, Albion 1. Ryan, your old club, Dumbarton, 8 points clear now in League Two after 6 games. Off to a flyer. Absolute. Really good start for Stevie Farrell's side.
Brilliant. I'm absolutely buzzing for everybody at the club. That was one of my most enjoyable times as a professional footballer down there. Won the league, so obviously the disappointment of getting relegated last season, and then obviously they've stuck with him. It could have been easy just to sack Stevie Farrell and just went with a new management team, but they've stuck by him, which is fair play to them, and he's repaid them. So hopefully, I've got about another 3 teams in this league that I played with, so hopefully one of them wins the league. But I'd like Dumbarton to kick on, continue the good form that they've showed, and obviously got a few pals at the club and all, so hopefully they kick on again.
As you say though, like there's a lot of mix of experience and youth in there. You've got likes of Ali Love and obviously Greg Wilds there, and John Gemmell, obviously the friend of the show that's obviously there, and you've got this wee mix of like Finlay Gray coming in, Aaron Linus. It's a really good kind of, Stevie's done really well in terms of kind of getting a good mix together.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you look through the team, obviously you've got 2 big centre-halves that are commanding. Yeah. But then you've brought John Gemmell back in, even just for his experience and all. He'll guide the young boys through because he's been there and done it. Yeah. 30 years, he's the same age as me, come up for 37. So I think that's a good sign for them, bringing him in, just because he maybe don't start every game, but he'll come on and see it out. If they're maybe up at East Fife at Bayview, it's a hard place to go. They're 1-0 up, bring him on, show his experience, hold the ball up. I think Big Gemmell's been playing centre-half at times the last couple of years at Canberra's Land, but he's been back up front. I think he'll show his experience and guiding the young boys through. But see, when you look through every league for the Championship down, it's going to be brilliant. I think there's teams that picked on really well, and as you say, players are coming down now for the Premier League and working their way down. Even people are going for the Championship, League One, down to the lower league now. So even right down to that, it's brilliant. Even down to the West as well. So it's a lot of good clubs and players kicking about in the lower end Scottish football these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie, what result caught your eye in League Two over the weekend?
Elgin City beating Bonnyrigg Rose. Elgin City, before that game, were bottom in the league.
Yeah.
And Bonnyrigg were second top. And for Elgin to go and win 2-0 is a fantastic result for there. Stirling Albion were up 1-0 against Albion Rovers. Celtic, bad back pass, let them back in. Done it a bit like the Motherwell game, done everything but couldn't put the ball in the back of the net with regards to there. But the result, Elgin. But one of the things I think will be consistent as well is Annan. I think Annan they'll just plod along, they'll pick their 3 points up, they'll pick a point up, they'll pick three, they'll pick a point, they'll pick a three. And they were unlucky against Aberdeen last midweek. They kind of took them into extra time and had a couple of chances. So as Ryan says, looking through everything, it's all good, it's all tight. And I think what he was saying as well, COVID was a massive part of that. Players were realising full time, I maybe not get a chance here. I'm going to get a decent job and I'm going to play part time so that if this happens again, I've still got my job to keep me going.
You look at people with families and that, and also
yeah,
a team and maybe League One and get £300-400 a week and then get yourself a job. If you're going to get released from the contract, at least you've got a job to hold back on. So that's massive. I've done that earlier on in my career. I went part time for security as well, and then went down the leagues, and I enjoyed myself probably more down the leagues.
A lot less pressure on you, Ryan, to go and enjoy your football.
Exactly. You were working Monday to Friday, 5 o'clock, 5, and then go and get your stuff and straight to training. It was brilliant. Some of my miss, obviously I'm back in at Airdrie under 18s, me and Dan Barr, so we're looking to get back up the leagues as well. And also get back to Airdrie. I spoke to a few boys that were at the game yesterday, obviously speaking to Reece and that and all. They went 2 at the back, the full second half, so they just went for it. So that's testament to Reece to just try and go, and no matter, I think they were 2-0 down at half time. I think they scored right on half time. So I think he's just come out and been like, we'll just go for it. Young managers, so
I admire that though. I think I know obviously
exactly.
a 6-0 defeat isn't great, but at least you're going for it. You're no, I mean,
I think they were unbeaten in 28 games.
A phenomenal start.
I think they've set up. They've not got a massive squad up at Airdrie. He's beaten in Arsenal, so I sit and watch the training, and the way he's got them playing, I think the Airdrie will be up there definitely fighting for that league.
We have a busy week ahead in terms of European football. This is great. This is absolutely great. This is what we've been missing for years. Both Celtic and Rangers in Champions League action, and Hearts are in Conference League action. Ryan, we'll start with you. Tuesday night, Celtic welcome the European champions, Real Madrid. It's going to be a different test for Celtic. It's obviously going to be tough. It's going to be unbelievable for the fans again, getting Champions League football back at Celtic Park. A big team's coming to town. What do you think of what's your thoughts? Is it just try and avoid a heavy defeat, or do you go for it and see what happens?
No, I think for me it's a free hit. I think you just, the way Celtic's playing this season, especially after coming off an Old Firm victory, I think you just need to, I don't think, I just come out and said it previously, he won't change, he'll alter slightly, but he won't change his approach to the game. So I think Celtic will come out with the right mindset, and obviously Real Madrid, you can't get any bigger in the world than them, obviously European champions.
Some occasion.
But I think it's a free hit for Celtic, especially see if you can go and get a draw, and then the next 2 games, Shakhtar and Leipzig away. So I think if you go and get a draw and then obviously play the 2 away, you're going to maybe, because Shakhtar are going to play, they don't play in their own country, so that's a big boost for Celtic as well. But I think keep it tight for the first 15-20 minutes. Don't get them away into the game and then just start playing your own game. If we can score first, just play the way we always play, get the ball down, get it up. Hopefully Jota, and I think obviously Abad will keep his position after his performance yesterday. So I think I am absolutely buzzing for it. As you say, you can't beat the 2 Scottish clubs back in the Champions League. I can't remember, I don't know how long it's been since the last time the 2
2007.
That's a long time away. So a club besides these Rangers and Celtic, they should win it more often, but obviously off-field troubles have kind of caused that. But I'm absolutely buzzing. I think it was 2 good draws for Celtic and Rangers, more so for Celtic, I think. But if they can get a good start, I think the 2 of them are in a right good chance of qualifying. If not, definitely get 3rd place for the Europa League anyway.
To give us a score prediction.
I'm going to go for 1 each.
1 each. Charlie, what's your thoughts on Celtic hosting Real Madrid?
I think it'll be a fantastic atmosphere for football, because as you're right, I don't think Ange will change anything, and I think it will be a great game to watch. And as Ryan says, it's a free hit. Before the game kicks off, you'll take any result because you're expecting Real Madrid to beat Celtic. Yeah. Celtic's confidence will be high. Celtic will not be judged in the Champions League with the matches against Real Madrid home and away. Yeah. Celtic will be concentrating on Shakhtar and RB Leipzig, and that'll dictate if they can finish second, fantastic. But realistically, they're probably looking for third and into the Europa League for that side. Second, I'll probably be Leipzig. I think probably, but they've not started well in Germany with regards to that. But I think it'll be a fantastic game at Celtic Park. The atmosphere, the Champions League music, I don't care who you are, what you're listening to, that music gets you right up for it, and away you go. And I think the game will be really, really close. And if Celtic score first, it could be a great game. And I don't think if Celtic score first, I don't think they'll sit back and defend or whatever the case may be. So it could potentially be something like 2 each. It really could be as open as that, because Real Madrid will just try and do something to get something from the game. They'll say, right, we'll take a point or we'll take the 3. And for that side, as long as they'll be saying, as long as we don't get beat, that's it. And of course, with the players that Real Madrid have got, they're probably capable, if they did go goal behind, is getting a goal back. But it'll be a fantastic prediction. I'm just going to put my hat out there, 2 each. I think it'll be a fantastic game of football.
Yeah, I think it really could as well.
I think the fixtures have been kind to Celtic, because in my opinion, you've got the free hit in the first game, and you've got obviously 2 away.
Yeah.
Then if maybe you had Real Madrid third and fourth for the back-to-back, and if you had a bad result against one of the other 2 teams, you're playing them back-to-back, and you're probably out the equation after 3 games. So I think, given the free hit, just go for the first game, and then the other 2 games take care of itself, go and maybe try and get 4 points. And then, obviously, the last 3 games, you've got a chance to get maybe scraping second place.
But as Charlie points out, I mean, Real Madrid, I think, will they'll win the group convincingly. But Shakhtar, I don't know if they're going to be capable of
playing away for him as well.
Aye.
Every game there is an away game, and how many supporters
and how focused are you with the situation going on over there? How focused are you on that? Yeah. Like
they're second in the league, Shakhtar. Mm-hmm. They've played 3, 1, 2, drawn 1, and they've only scored 3 goals.
There you go.
2 goals. They've only scored 2 goals in their games.
And Leipzig
won both their games 1 each, and they drew their game 0 each.
And Leipzig lost 4-0 at home yesterday away from home to Frankfurt.
I've just looked at they're sitting 11th for now.
So yeah. I think Celtic will have fancied themselves massively to get out this group. And we'll touch on Rangers next. They go to the Dutch champions Ajax. I pointed out earlier, I fancy Rangers to get a result here more than I fancy them to get a result at Pittodrie. Ryan, can they go over to Holland and get a result?
I don't see why not, going with the last 2 years in Europe, because I think everybody always writes Rangers off away from home and always turn up, and especially obviously the last round, getting into the Champions League. I had PSV all over Rangers, and obviously they were not going to get a result and get into the Champions League. So obviously from my point of view, I don't want to see Rangers doing well, but it's good for Scottish football, coefficiency and all that kind of part. But I think, again, I've gone back to what I'm saying. It's like, it's good for Scottish football, but I think Celtic's got a better draw than Rangers. I think if Rangers carry their form into the European fixtures, they might have bothered. Ajax obviously have set their best player to Man U, scored today. Martinez, I think they've brought in 140 million. I don't know if they've reinvested it back in.
Bought the second best centre half in the world, Calvin Bassey.
I got a red card his first game. But again, I don't see why not. Rangers can go over and try and again start with a good, maybe get a draw and get their group campaign off to a good start. But we'll just need to wait and see. But as you say, it's going to be a great week of football.
Yeah, it really is. Charlie, do you fancy Rangers to go to Holland and get something?
I think they'll get a point. Yeah, I think they'll go there and get a point. With regards to there, I think Rangers are probably maybe in a different scenario. I think Rangers will be looking Celtic are looking for second, definitely third, if that's the way to go from that point. Rangers are looking for possibly third, definitely fourth. They need to get into the Europa League from that group with regards to that side. And if they get their campaign off with a point away from home, and I think Van Bronckhorst will know Ajax very well. He'll have done his homework just the same as he done with Eindhoven. I think he'll set up his European style of play, fan season, etc., etc. I think they'll get a draw, and I think it'll be a one each draw. They'll get a one each draw over there, and that'll get the point off and ready to start.
I'm going to say to Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, if you start Glenn Kamara in central attacking midfield, I'm not watching. But Ajax are a good side. Ajax we know what Ajax can do. They're a lot different. I think they're doing really well in the league, but they'll take time to rebuild. As you said, they've sold Anthony, they've sold Martinez, Bassey's come in. There's a lot of changes going on. I think it'll be good I think it'll be a nice bit for Bassey to obviously play against Rangers in his first kind of Champions League. Nice wee.
He'll go and clatter someday. Who did I know like in the dressing room?
But Hearts obviously have Europa Conference League action as well. They host Turkish side Istanbul Başakşehir. Charlie, that was great pronunciation there.
Wonderful, you've got it rattled off.
Yeah, I do that. Charlie, do you fancy Hearts to get anything from that game? It's a tough opposition. Good side.
Oh, massive. I went to referee in Turkey, man, an unbelievable atmosphere. And they locked the supporters in an hour and a half before the kickoff. It's unbelievable.
That doesn't happen in Glasgow.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. They get everybody in the atmosphere and the firecrackers and the hooligans, or whatever you want to cry them. Some atmosphere, but also they're volatile as well. So there'll be a lot of play acting. There'll be a lot of game management side of things in for there. Hearts need to keep their head. And they need to just keep playing football. Don't get caught up in it, because see, once you get roped into that, the mind goes sometimes, and you're more interested in kicking and shoving than actually playing football.
It happened in the Hearts would have played Europa League football if it wasn't for that the last time. In my
100%. Yeah. So, but a hard game. I hope Hearts. I thought they would do it against Zurich. I hope they do it this time. I hope they get through and get into European football and steady the ship as well. Sometimes as well. There's still Hearts supporters that are no big fans. Favourites are Robbie Nielsen. They're still he should never have been there. So maybe Robbie just needs to get them through the group and just show them for there.
Ryan, do you fancy Hearts on Thursday?
I do not know. Hopefully they go out and get a result, but I think again, it's just a free hit. Just go over there and play your own game. I don't get people just going out to maybe try and defend. Just go and have a go at people. It's just a one-off game. So just go and try and get your first points on the board, obviously in the group stages and that and all. So hopefully they go over there and do well, but I think they'll wander the course.
I think they'll get a draw. I think it'll be a tough game. I think Istanbul Başakşehir. I think with Turkish teams as well, we know they're going to be very, very hard to beat. So I think a draw.
It was in Trabzonspor it was. Oh my God. Oh. And a boy fucking leg. I was feared.
As we say, it's going to be a really good week for Scottish football. You've got 3 European games to look forward to. We're going to have an extra show going out on Friday morning, so we'll obviously review all the action over the week. But we're going to wrap up the show there. It's been an absolute pleasure to do the show. Ryan, thank you very much for coming on. Really enjoyed it. Brilliant.
Yeah, I love it. Can you beat talking about football, can you?
Definitely. And Charlie, it's been a pleasure.
I just realised Hearts are at home on Thursday.
Are they at home? Sorry, Hearts are at home, so...
I thought they were away, so obviously that's a different kettle of fish, so hopefully just go out and... I do fancy them out. Going away, it's a different ball game, but if they're at home, then I definitely try and get a result.
But thank you very much for coming on, Ryan. It's been great.
What?
Brilliant. Charlie, it's a pleasure as always, and it's always good to have you on, and we don't have to have any referee controversies to discuss.
Okay, you know me. If I'll give an honest opinion whether they're right or wrong, but yeah, credit to the boys. It's been a good, quiet weekend. North of the border, I don't think it's been good, quiet weekend south of the border.
I think Dermot Gallagher will be a very busy man on Monday. Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you about the football. We'll be back Friday with an extra show, and Monday we'll be back with the flagship. Thanks very much. We'll see you soon. Cheers.